January 7th, 1942. Adolf Hitler sat in his East Prussia headquarters and delivered a verdict that would doom Nazi Germany. "I do not see much future for the Americans," he told his inner circle. "A decayed country, half Judaized, half negrified. How could a state like that hold together?" 7,000 miles away, in a small office in Richmond, California, a 57-year-old industrialist sketched something on hotel notepaper. Henry Kaiser had never built a ship in his life. Established shipbuilders said it took 8 months to build a cargo vessel. Kaiser looked at his sketch and told his team, "We'll build one in 4 days." Hitler believed Americans were soft. Kaiser was about to prove him catastrophically wrong. The misjudgment began long before the first shot was fired. Throughout the 1930s, German military intelligence compiled detailed reports on America. Their conclusions were remarkably consistent and remarkably wrong. America, they determined, was a nation of businessmen and consumers, not warriors. The evidence seemed clear. U.S. Army in 1939, smaller than Portugal's. American factories built cars and refrigerators, not tanks. American people, comfortable, soft, with no appetite for sacrifice. When President Franklin Roosevelt announced in May 1940 that America would produce 50,000 aircraft per year, the German High Command laughed. Hermann Göring, head of the Luftwaffe and Hitler's closest confidant, dismissed it as fantasy. In 1939, American military aircraft production, fewer than 3,000 planes total. The idea of increasing by a factor of 20 seemed absurd. Göring knew what it took to produce modern combat aircraft: the precision engineering, the specialized alloys, the trained workforce, the years of experience. America had none of these advantages. The notion they could conjure an air force from automobile factories struck him as laughable. But the German analysis contained a fatal flaw. It wasn't just strategic, it was ideological. Albert Speer, who would become Hitler's Minister of Armaments, was present for many dinner conversations about America. Hitler believed Americans had not played a very prominent part in World War I. They had not made great sacrifices of blood, he said. They would not withstand a trial by fire. No such thing as an American people exists as a unit. They are nothing but a mass of immigrants from many nations and races. This racial analysis was central to Hitler's worldview. National strength, he believed, flowed from racial purity and homogeneity. Germany, with its supposed Aryan bloodline, possessed inherent superiority. America, a mongrel nation of immigrants, Jews, and African Americans, could not possibly match the martial spirit of the German folk. The German analysis measured American potential by American performance in peacetime. They saw a nation that had not mobilized and concluded it could not mobilize. They saw factories making consumer goods and assumed those factories could not make weapons. They saw a diverse population and believed diversity meant weakness. They were wrong about everything. The transformation that was about to begin would be the greatest industrial mobilization in human history. And it would bury Nazi Germany under an avalanche of steel. Summer 1940. France has fallen. Britain stands alone under siege. Roosevelt challenges American industry to perform what he calls a miracle of production. The automobile factories will stop making cars. The appliance plants will stop making refrigerators. Every lathe, every press, every assembly line in America will be converted to war production. 1941. 3 million automobiles produced. Next 4 years, only 139 more automobiles built. Entire automotive industry redirected to war. This wasn't merely a call to action. It was a fundamental restructuring of the American economy. Chrysler made fuselages. General Motors made airplane engines, guns, trucks, tanks. Packard made Rolls-Royce engines for the British Air Force. Companies that had never made anything more dangerous than kitchen appliances learned to produce ammunition. The conversion happened with remarkable speed because American industry had capabilities the Germans never understood. American factories had pioneered mass production techniques. A carburetor made in Ohio would fit an engine made in Michigan, would power a vehicle assembled in California. This system, developed over decades for civilian production, was now applied to weapons of war. The skeptics said it couldn't be done. Aircraft weren't automobiles. You couldn't stamp out a bomber like you stamped out a Ford. The tolerances were too precise, the systems too complex. Heavy bomber, over 1 million parts. Automobile, 15,000 parts. Henry Kaiser ignored the skeptics. December 1940. Kaiser wins a government contract to build 30 cargo ships for the British. He has no shipyard, no shipbuilding experience, no workers trained in maritime construction. What he has is a system. Kaiser doesn't think about shipbuilding the way traditional shipbuilders think about it. He thinks about it as a manufacturing problem. Traditional shipbuilders accumulated knowledge through apprenticeship. A skilled riveter might spend years learning his trade. Kaiser doesn't have years, he has months. So he designs processes that can be learned in days. He substitutes capital for labor wherever possible. He invests in machinery to do work previously done by hand. The established shipbuilders say this approach will never work. Ships are too complex, the ocean too unforgiving. Vessels built by amateurs will sink. Kaiser proves them wrong. His ships aren't just built faster than traditional vessels, they're built better. The defect rate at Kaiser's yards, less than half the rate at conventional shipyards. Kaiser breaks the shipbuilding process into modules. Instead of constructing from the keel up on a single slipway, he prefabricates entire sections in different locations, assembles them like building blocks, uses welding instead of riveting, faster and requiring less skilled labor. The transformation of ordinary Americans into shipbuilders happens at a pace that defies conventional wisdom. Men and women who have never seen the ocean, who have never held a welding torch, who have never set foot in an industrial facility, learn to build ships in weeks. Kaiser's training programs are ruthlessly efficient. New worker to competent welder. 10 days. Ready for productive shipbuilding team. 30 days. They come from everywhere. Farmers from Oklahoma who lost their land to drought. Factory workers from Detroit laid off during the Depression. Women who have never worked outside the home. African Americans seeking opportunity denied them in the segregated South. Workforce at Kaiser's Richmond yards. Peak. Over 90,000 people. Women. Nearly 1/3. The women who work in these factories become symbols of American wartime mobilization. They drill rivets, they weld seams, they install wiring, doing work that had been exclusively male before the war. The government promotes their contributions through posters and films. These images become iconic representations of the home front effort. But these aren't just propaganda images. These are real women, thousands of them across America, working in shipyards and aircraft plants, proving that the workforce can expand in ways German planners never anticipated. The established shipbuilders watch in disbelief. They've been building ships the same way for decades. They know what's possible. But Kaiser's methods work. Average time to build a Liberty ship, 1941. 230 days, 1942. 45 days. Then 30 days. Then 20 days. November 1942. Kaiser's Richmond shipyard builds the Liberty ship Robert E. Peary in 4 days and 15 hours. From laying the keel to launching the completed vessel takes less time than a German U-boat needs to cross the Atlantic. The Germans now face a strategic crisis they never anticipated. Admiral Karl Donitz, commander of Germany's U-boat fleet, has staked his strategy on a simple calculation. His submarines will sink Allied shipping faster than the Allies can replace it. In early 1942, this strategy appears to be working. German U-boats prowl the American East Coast during what they call the second happy time. Hundreds of merchant ships sink within sight of shore. Oil tankers burn off the coast of Florida. Cargo vessels go down within view of New Jersey beaches. Commander Reinhard Hartigan in U-123 is among the first captains to hunt American waters. In January 1942, he torpedoes ships so close to shore he can see city lights reflected off the smoke. Americans haven't implemented blackout procedures, haven't organized convoys. They seem almost to be inviting attack. Through the first 6 months of 1942, German submarines sink nearly 400 ships in American coastal waters. Oil meant for Allied tanks, pools on Atlantic beaches. Food meant for British civilians rots at the bottom of the sea. Donuts believes he's winning. His submarines are inflicting damage that exceeds his most optimistic projections. If these losses continue, Britain will be strangled. The American war effort will collapse before it can fully mobilize. But even as U-boats chalk up kills, the shipyards are accelerating. New ship construction, 1942. 8 million tons launched, 1943. 19 million tons launched fall, 1943. New construction exceeds losses for the first time. Every ship the U-boats sink is replaced by 2 more. Donitz watches the numbers with growing alarm. His submarines are sinking ships at a rate that would have won World War I. But this isn't World War I. This is a conflict against an enemy whose industrial capacity defies comprehension. The math is merciless. Donitz needs to sink 700,000 tons per month to strangle Britain. 1942. Germany comes close. 1943. American shipyards alone launch over 1 million tons per month. The target keeps moving, always receding, always beyond reach. May 1943. Donitz is forced to withdraw his U-boats from the Atlantic. In a single month, 43 submarines lost. The tonnage they sink no longer justifies the casualties they suffer. U-boat crews who survived the May disaster returned to occupied France in shock. They went to sea believing they were winning. They come back understanding they've lost. The endless convoys they hunted now sail with escorts they cannot penetrate. Allied aircraft that had once been rare now seem to be everywhere. The technological superiority German submarines enjoyed is gone. The Battle of the Atlantic, which Germany needed to win to strangle Britain, is lost, not from a single decisive defeat, but from the cumulative weight of an enemy who can absorb losses and keep coming. What happens at sea is replicated in the air. Ford Motor Company's Willow Run plant, outside Detroit, becomes the symbol of American industrial might. Designed by famed architect Albert Kahn, the facility covers 3.5 million square feet, the largest factory under one roof anywhere in the world. Its purpose? Mass-produce the B-24 Liberator, a 4-engine heavy bomber more complex than anything Ford has ever manufactured. The B-24 Liberator. Over 1 million parts. More than 300,000 rivets in 550 different sizes. Precision engineering. The automobile industry has never attempted Ford's production chief, Charles Sorensen, studies aircraft manufacture, consolidates methods. He finds them primitive. Bombers are being assembled outdoors by hand, using techniques that haven't changed in decades. Sorensen proposes something revolutionary. He'll build bombers on a moving assembly line, just like automobiles. Critics call the idea insane. Dutch Kindleberger, president of North American Aviation, scoffs, "You cannot expect a blacksmith to make a watch overnight." The skepticism isn't unreasonable. Aircraft manufacturing is fundamentally different from automobile production. A car can have minor variations and still function perfectly. An aircraft with minor variations might fall out of the sky. Tolerances, measured in thousandths of an inch. Materials, exotic alloys that behave differently than automotive steel. Systems must work in perfect harmony at 25,000 feet in sub-zero temperatures. Ford struggles initially. The government keeps changing the aircraft's design, disrupting the assembly line. Workers have to learn entirely new skills. The press mocks the facility as "Will it run?" instead of "Willow Run." Senator Harry Truman investigates the delays and publicly questions whether Ford can deliver. The problems are real, but Ford's response is characteristically stubborn. 200 engineers work around the clock, produce 5 miles of technical drawings per day. When designs become obsolete, they start over without complaint. Ford also decentralizes production. Engines from Buick in Flint, propellers from Hamilton, Standard in Connecticut, landing gear from Goodyear in Ohio. By 1944, the problems are solved. Willow Run produces 1B-24 every 63 minutes. Peak production. April 1944, 453 bombers in a single month. April 24th to 26th, 1944. 100 completed bombers fly away in just 72 hours. The Army Air Forces eventually have to tell Ford to slow down. They have no place to park all the aircraft. Storage areas at training bases overflow with B-24s, waiting for crews. Production capacity exceeds the military's ability to deploy the aircraft. American aircraft production reaches numbers the German High Command declared impossible. 1944 alone. United States builds more than 96,000 military aircraft. This single year exceeds Japan's total aircraft output for the entire war. Total American aircraft production, 1940 to 1945. Nearly 300,000 aircraft. Accounts for roughly 2/3 of all Allied military equipment. At its peak, American industry builds more aircraft in a single month than Germany possessed at the start of the war. Assembly lines run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Shifts change at midnight and noon. The factories never stop. Consider what these numbers mean. 300,000 aircraft, stretched wingtip to wingtip, would circle the Earth at the equator. Behind every aircraft, every ship, every tank is a supply chain that stretches across the continent. Aluminum from bauxite ore, shipped from South America. Rubber from plantations in Liberia and Brazil, after Japanese conquests cut off Asian supplies. Cotton for uniforms from southern farms. Food from the agricultural heartland. The entire economy is reoriented toward war production. Women who have never worked outside the home learn to operate machinery their mothers never saw. African Americans migrate north to take factory jobs previously closed to them. Rural Americans move to industrial cities. Housing shortages force families to live in shifts. Day workers sleeping in beds, vacated by night workers. The social transformation is as dramatic as the industrial one. By war's end, American industry provides almost 2/3 of all Allied military equipment. 297,000 aircraft, 86,000 tanks, 193,000 artillery pieces, 2 million army trucks. The scale defies comprehension. The German misjudgment extends beyond industry to the fighting quality of American soldiers themselves. February 1943. American ground forces meet the German army in combat for the first time. Kasserine Pass, Tunisia. The result appears to confirm every German prejudice. Field Marshal Erwin Rommel's Africa Corps tears through inexperienced American positions. Units break and run. Equipment is abandoned. Command and control collapses. American casualties. Over 6,000 some German officers who dismissed Americans as soft now have battlefield evidence to support their contempt. The Americans at Kasserine are green in ways only combat can reveal. Many soldiers have never fired their weapons in anger. Officers trained in peacetime conditions can't function under fire. Radio communications fail. Coordination between infantry and armor breaks down. Lieutenant Colonel John Waters, General Patton's son-in-law, is among those captured. He led an armored counterattack that ran straight into German panzers and anti-tank guns. American tanks burst into flame. Infantry scattered. Waters was wounded and captured. Rommel initially scorns the green American troops. They seem undisciplined and poorly led compared to the British forces he's been fighting. The debacle at Kasserine reinforces German belief that material superiority can be offset by German fighting quality. Reports from the battle filter back to Berlin. German intelligence officers compile assessments confirming what Hitler always believed. Americans are soft. Their equipment is abundant, but their soldiers are weak. German martial spirit will triumph over American industrial power. But Rommel is too good a general to let initial impressions harden into permanent assumptions. He watches what happens after Kasserine, and what he sees troubles him. The Americans recover with startling speed. Within weeks, forces reorganized, incompetent commanders relieved, brutal lessons learned and implemented. General George Patton takes command of the demoralized Second Corps. He transforms it through sheer force of will. Soldiers who slouched through the Kasserine disaster find themselves polishing brass, standing at attention, training harder than ever in their lives. But Patton does more than impose discipline. He studies why Americans failed and implements specific corrections. Artillery forward observers repositioned. Tank tactics revised. Infantry learns to coordinate more closely with armor. The lessons of Kasserine are analyzed, documented, and disseminated. The American military possesses an institutional commitment to learning from failure that Germans fail to recognize. Lieutenant General Leslie McNair conducts a comprehensive review of what went wrong. His findings are sent back to training camps across the United States. The mistakes of February 1943 become the curriculum of March 1943. Rommel later records his observations. The tactical conduct of the enemy's defense had been first class. They recovered very quickly after the first shock and soon succeeded in damming up our advance. By May 1943, 3 months after Kasserine, the war in North Africa is over. 275,000 German and Italian soldiers march into POW cages. More than surrendered at Stalingrad. The Americans who panicked at Kasserine are now among the victors. The speed of American recovery shocks German commanders, who expected a longer period of demoralization. June 6, 1944. German commanders in France are surprised by the scale of the invasion force. First day, over 156,000 Allied troops landed, supported by nearly 7,000 naval vessels and 11,000 aircraft. The logistics required to move this force across the English Channel and supply it on hostile shores represent an organizational achievement German planners considered impossible. The American role is overwhelming. The equipment supporting the assault, landing craft, transport aircraft, tanks, trucks, comes largely from American factories. The ships bombarding German positions, built in American yards. The aircraft dominating the skies, produced on American assembly lines. German defenders fight with characteristic tenacity. In some sectors, they inflict heavy casualties, but they're overwhelmed by sheer volume of men and material the Allies bring to bear. When an American infantry company encounters a defended position, they call for artillery support. The artillery fire that follows isn't a few rounds, it's hundreds, sometimes thousands, of shells falling in concentrated barrages that pulverize defensive positions. When infantry advances, tanks support them. When tanks are stopped, aircraft are called in. The Americans have learned to integrate combined arms in ways that multiply their combat power. German soldiers who fought on the Eastern Front say the American style of warfare is different from Soviet tactics. The Soviets threw men at problems. The Americans throw machines. The outcome is similar: overwhelming force applied relentlessly. But the human cost to Americans is lower. This is deliberate. American doctrine explicitly prioritizes firepower over manpower. Why risk soldiers when you can expend ammunition instead? Hitler's misjudgment has consequences that ripple through every level of German strategy. Because he believed America would not intervene effectively, he declared war on the United States 4 days after Pearl Harbor, bringing into the conflict an enemy he did not need to fight. Foreign Minister Joachim von Ribbentrop reminded Hitler, a declaration of war would add another enemy without corresponding benefit. But Hitler dismissed the concern. He believed war with America was inevitable. More importantly, he did not believe America mattered. A nation of racial mongrels, divided by class and corrupted by Jewish influence, could not possibly affect the outcome of the war. This contempt shaped German strategy throughout the conflict. By 1944, Germany is fighting on 3 fronts with resources barely adequate for one. The 8th Air Force, flying from bases in England, sends formations of B-17 and B-24 bombers over Germany in daylight raids. These would have been impossible without American industrial capacity. Early raids suffered terrible losses. October 1943. The 8th Air Force loses 60 heavy bombers and their crews in a single raid on Schweinfurt's ball-bearing factories. American commanders debate whether daylight bombing can continue, but American factories replace the lost aircraft within weeks. Replacement crews arrive from training programs that expanded to meet demand. By spring 1944, the 8th Air Force is stronger than before Schweinfurt, and now it has long-range escort fighters, the P-51 Mustang, that can protect bombers all the way to Berlin and back. The Luftwaffe faces an impossible equation. Every American aircraft shot down is replaced by 3 more. Every experienced German pilot killed is irreplaceable. Mid-1944, Luftwaffe losses: 25% of aircrew every month, 40% of aircraft every month. These are losses no Air Force can survive indefinitely. German pilots who began the war with years of training and hundreds of flight hours are replaced by men with weeks of instruction and dozens of hours in the cockpit. By war's end, some German pilots fly their first combat mission with less than 100 hours of total flight time. The Americans, meanwhile, continue to improve. By spring 1945, the Thousand-Year Reich is collapsing. American and British forces advance from the west. Soviet armies close in from the east. German cities burn under round-the-clock bombing. The Luftwaffe is powerless to stop. The factories that produced Wehrmacht weapons are rubble. The final months expose how thoroughly German planning failed. Strategic reserves exhausted. Fuel supply depleted. Transportation network shattered. German soldiers fight on with characteristic stubbornness, but without hope. Ammunition is rationed. Vehicles are abandoned for lack of fuel. Replacement equipment no longer arrives because the factories that made it no longer function. American forces, meanwhile, seem to have unlimited resources. When tanks are destroyed, new tanks arrive. When ammunition is expended, more appears. The Red Ball Express, the truck convoy system supplying Allied forces after the Normandy breakout, moves 400,000 tons of supplies in just 3 months. American drivers, many of them African Americans, serving in segregated transportation units, drive around the clock. The convoy consumes more fuel than the combat forces it supports. But America has fuel to spare. Germany does not. April 30th, 1945. Hitler dies in his bunker, still convinced his analysis had been correct. In his final days, Hitler rants about miracle weapons that will turn the tide, about divisions that exist only on paper, about counteroffensives that cannot possibly succeed. He never accepts that his fundamental assumptions about America were wrong. The nation he dismissed as racially inferior and industrially incapable has crushed his armies. The nation he called decayed. Outproduced Germany by a factor of nearly 3-to-1, fought with determination across 2 oceans. Buried the Wehrmacht under an avalanche of steel. American industry provided almost 2/3 of all Allied military equipment, 297,000 aircraft, 86,000 tanks, 193,000 artillery pieces, 2 million army trucks. The numbers were not propaganda. They were reality. Henry Kaiser does not become a household name after the war. He returns to private industry, eventually building hospitals, automobiles, housing developments. The shipyards that launched a vessel every few days are dismantled or converted to peacetime production. The workers who achieved what experts said was impossible go back to ordinary jobs. The Willow Run plant, which produced more bombers than Germany could shoot down, is sold to other manufacturers. For decades, it makes automobiles instead of aircraft. By the time General Motors closes the facility in 2010, few remember what happened there during the war. The men and women who built the arsenal of democracy scatter back to their ordinary lives. The welders return to farms and factories. The riveters become housewives and teachers. The workers who achieve production, miracles fade into anonymity. But some of them remember. In 2000, the Rosie the Riveter, World War II Homefront National Historical Park, is established at the site of the Richmond shipyards. A reminder of what they accomplished. The German misjudgment of America was not simply a failure of intelligence. It was a failure of imagination. German leadership looked at America and saw what they expected to see: a soft, divided, undisciplined nation unsuited for war. They did not see what actually existed: a sleeping giant with industrial capacity, organizational talent, human determination that would prove unstoppable once awakened. Nazi ideology taught that racial purity was the foundation of national strength. America, with its immigrant population and African American citizens, seemed to disprove this thesis. If Nazi racial worldview was correct, America should have been weak. Therefore, German leaders convinced themselves America must be weak. This was the fundamental error. German strategists began with their conclusions and worked backward to find evidence that supported them. Noted American unpreparedness in 1939 concluded Americans could not prepare. Observed American diversity arrow concluded Americans could not unify. Saw American comfort arrow concluded Americans could not sacrifice. Each conclusion was wrong. Americans prepared faster than anyone believed possible. Americans unified around the war effort with remarkable solidarity. Americans sacrificed in ways that would have seemed unthinkable before Pearl Harbor. The industrial might that crushed Nazi Germany did not emerge from nowhere. It came from shipyard workers in Richmond who stayed on the job around the clock, assembly line workers at Willow Run who built aircraft faster than anyone believed possible, farmers and shopkeepers and teachers who put on uniforms and learned to fight. These were not supermen. They were simply ordinary people who did extraordinary things when circumstances demanded it. The housewives who became welders had never imagined themselves working in factories. The farmers who became soldiers had never imagined themselves crossing oceans to fight. The bureaucrats who became logistics officers had never imagined themselves moving millions of tons of supplies across continents. They did these things anyway. They learned skills they had never possessed. They endured hardships they had never anticipated. They achieved feats that experts said were impossible. And when the war was over, most of them went back to ordinary lives and never spoke much about what they had done. The factories that built Liberty ships and B-24 bombers have mostly been demolished. The workers who staffed them have passed into history. The war they helped win ended 8 decades ago, but the story matters because misjudgment still costs lives. Nations still underestimate their adversaries. Leaders still confuse their assumptions with reality. The German High Command believed what it wanted to believe about America, and that belief led to catastrophic miscalculation. Nations are not fixed quantities. Societies are not static. The capabilities that exist in peacetime are not necessarily the limits of what's possible in war. Hitler looked at America and saw a decayed country that could not hold together. He was looking at the wrong America. The America that mattered built ships in days and bombers in hours, took raw recruits and turned them into combat soldiers in months, absorbed defeats, learned from them, and came back stronger. That America, The real America was messy and chaotic and inefficient by German standards, but it won. If you found this story as compelling as we did, please take a moment to like this video. It helps us share more forgotten stories from the Second World War. Subscribe to stay connected with these untold histories. Each one matters. Each one deserves to be remembered. We'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below telling us where you're watching from. You are part of something special here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for keeping these stories alive.